Hi, I'm Bakhtiar Sanov and you are watching A News. Let's see the top stories shaping our world. Hamas releases videos of Israeli hostages, prompting harsh response from Israel's prime minister. US President Donald Trump says he is ready to introduce more sanctions against Russia. OPEC Plus countries agree to a production hike starting from September. Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar is urging global action after disturbing hostage videos were released by Hamas. He says the condition of the captives is alarming. Sa'ar criticized the United Nations and international community for staying silent on the suffering of Israeli hostages, who remain without Red Cross access despite prior agreements. He called for global pressure and said he would attend a special UN Security Council session to demand action. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has pledged to press on with the war in Gaza and secure the release of hostages. His comments come after the release of new videos by Hamas. We have to warn you, some viewers may find the images in the next report too graphic.
Footage released over the weekend by Hamas has reignited public anger in Israel. The videos show two Israeli hostages, both in visibly deteriorating condition. In one video, Eviatar David is seen inside a Gaza tunnel, saying he has gone without food for days, and he is now digging his own grave. The 24-year-old was taken during the October 7th attack.
Then lentils, then I ate nothing. Lentils, again I ate nothing, and then again I ate nothing.
His family confirmed the video's authenticity and permitted its release. A second video shows hostage Rom Braslavsky describing extreme physical and mental stress and pleading for basic necessities.
I can't sleep. I can't live. You have to stop what you're doing here. What's wrong with you? What's gotten into you? Why are you doing this to us? Bring in food. I am surviving on less than a liter of water. I am lying on the bed, on the mattress, 24 hours a day.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the footage on Sunday, calling it disturbing and vowing to continue to destroy Hamas.
But we will not break. I am filled with even stronger determination to free our kidnapped sons, to eliminate Hamas, and to ensure that Gaza will no longer pose a threat to the state of Israel.
The videos triggered protests in Tel Aviv and other cities, with demonstrators urging the government to reach a deal for the hostages' return. Israeli officials say 50 hostages are still in Gaza, with only around 20 believed to be alive.
The humanitarian situation in Gaza remains critical as more hunger-related deaths are reported. Aid continues to enter from Egypt, but concerns persist over its distribution and access. Israel, which blames Hamas for the crisis, says it has taken steps to increase aid access, allowing in fuel, designating protected delivery routes, and pausing military operations. Israel's military liaison body says over 23,000 tons of humanitarian aid entered Gaza last week, but many trucks have yet to be distributed. Hamas claims nearly 1,600 trucks have arrived since late July, though reports suggest looting by armed gangs and desperate civilians in hindering delivery. The United States signals a tougher stance on Moscow over Russia's war with Ukraine as diplomatic efforts intensify. President Donald Trump warns of looming sanctions while aerial attacks escalate on both sides of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Here is the latest.
Special Envoy of US Steve Witkoff may travel to Russia this coming week. That's according to US President Donald Trump, who said that Witkoff might potentially visit on Wednesday or Thursday, as he warns he would impose sanctions if Moscow does not agree to a ceasefire in the war in Ukraine.
Well, there'll be sanctions, but they seem to be pretty good at avoiding sanctions. You know, they're wily characters, and they're pretty good at avoiding sanctions. So we'll see what happens. But Steve is focused right now on the border in terms of, we're talking about with Gaza, getting people fed. And he may be going, I think next week, Wednesday or Thursday, may be going to Russia. They would like to see him. They've asked that he meet, so we'll see what happens.
The US president, who returned to power on a pledge to swiftly end the war, has in recent weeks rolled back his earlier conciliatory approach toward Moscow and signaled openness to arming Ukraine. The comments come as tensions between Russia and Ukraine continue to rise as both sides launched new aerial attacks on key military and infrastructure targets. Russia said it struck Ukrainian drone facilities and made gains in Donetsk, Sumy, and Kharkiv, while claiming to have shot down more than 300 Ukrainian drones in one day. In response, Ukraine carried out drone strikes inside Russia, hitting fuel sites, a drone base, and an electronics plant. Several people were reported killed or injured. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia had launched more than 5,000 glide bombs and thousands of drones in July alone. He called for stronger international sanctions to stop further attacks. President Trump condemned Russia's actions and warned that if President Putin doesn't agree to a deal by the 8th of August, new economic sanctions will be imposed.
A senior Trump official has accused India of helping fund Russia's war in Ukraine by continuing to buy Russian oil. The White House Deputy Chief of Staff said President Donald Trump finds it unacceptable for India to finance the conflict this way. This comes shortly after the United States imposed a 25% tariff on Indian imports in response to India's ongoing purchase of Russian military equipment and energy. India's reliance on Russian oil has grown sharply since the invasion of Ukraine, now nearly matching China's imports. Despite United States pressure, India plans to keep buying Russian oil.
To strengthen and deepen the ties further as we see.
OPEC Plus has agreed to raise oil production by over 500,000 barrels per day starting in September. The move reverses earlier cuts and follows U.S. pressure on members such as India to reduce Russian oil imports. The group cited strong demand and low global inventories as reasons for the increase. Officials say the decision could be revised depending on market conditions. OPEC Plus will meet again on the 7th of September. In India, relentless monsoon rains have triggered floods and chaos across parts of Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal.
Heavy monsoon rains have caused rivers to overflow in northern Uttar Pradesh and eastern West Bengal, flooding neighbourhoods and cutting off access in multiple districts. In Prayagraj, floodwaters rose high enough to submerge a police outpost up to its first story. Personnel from India's National Disaster Response Force were deployed to evacuate people trapped inside, navigating the deep waters to reach those stranded. In West Bengal, parts of the state faced similar flooding as rising river levels swept into homes and streets. Emergency services are monitoring the situation closely, with concerns the rainfall could intensify further. Meanwhile, in the northern town of Mandi, where flash floods had already claimed at least 3 lives earlier in the week, a massive landslide struck, blocking roads and complicating recovery efforts. Monsoon floods in India occur every year during the June to September season, with the 2025 rains causing severe flooding and landslides since early summer. These floods have intensified recently due to changing weather patterns and infrastructure challenges. India's monsoon season plays a vital role in its nearly $4 trillion economy, delivering around 70% of the rainfall needed to irrigate crops and refill water sources. Nearly half the country's farmland still lacks irrigation, and depends entirely on this seasonal rain. But when the downpours are excessive, they often trigger flooding, landslides, and severe waterlogging, especially in areas with outdated or insufficient drainage systems.
Heavy rains pounding Guinea's capital Conakry since late June have killed at least 15 people and forced dozens from their homes. Floodwaters have overwhelmed crumbling infrastructure, leaving streets submerged and bridges buckling. Volunteer rescuers have been searching for the missing as over 130 homes have been left damaged. The government says it's rushing to improve drainage systems and relocate at-risk communities as the peak of the rainy season brings more devastation. Global temperatures are edging dangerously close to the 1.5 degrees Celsius limit. A top United Nations official warns the world is entering a critical phase, just as Japan and Australia report new climate extremes.
The planet is nearing one of the most critical climate thresholds. In an interview with China Central Television, Jorge Moreira da Silva, executive director of the UN Office for Project Services, warned that crossing the 1.5°C's global warming limit could unleash irreversible damage, from collapsing ice sheets to extreme droughts and deadly weather events.
If we go towards 2.9 degrees rather than 1.5, we will get 1.3 billion people in the world that will live in places that became deserts or under significant water stress. We'll have massive destruction of ice sheets. We'll have massive destruction of the stability of the climate. We'll have proliferation of hurricanes and cyclones. So the 1.5 degree, I insist, is a physical limit. If we cross that limit, we'll still be in this planet, but the planet will be different in terms of well-being, in terms of quality of life, in terms of health, but we can still fix it.
This warning follows new extremes in both Asia and the Pacific. Japan just recorded its hottest July for the third year in a row since records began in 1898. Temperatures averaged 2.89 degrees above normal, breaking the 2024 record. The Japan Meteorological Agency described the heat as abnormally high, with some regions seeing less than 10% of usual rainfall. The lack of water is now threatening the country's rice production. Alongside Japan, many European countries such as Spain, Italy, Greece and France have faced extreme heat this year. The high temperatures have triggered wildfires, damaged crops and strained emergency services. Meanwhile, eastern Australia was hit by its thickest snow in decades. For many, seeing snow is a rare and unforgettable experience. Parts of New South Wales received up to 50 centimetres of snow over the weekend, alongside torrential rain and flash floods that knocked out power to thousands of homes.
Coming after the break, we will be discussing the latest setbacks in ceasefire negotiations between Israel and Hamas, the prospects for a partial versus comprehensive deal, and what the recent Hamas video reveals about the urgency of the situation, with Ilan Sialom, a geopolitical analyst based in Paris. Stay with us. Welcome back to A News. Let's begin by taking a closer look at where the ceasefire negotiations between Israel and Hamas currently stand and what options remain on the table. Tensions remain high as efforts to broker a deal between Israel and Hamas stall once again. While the US and Israel push for a comprehensive agreement that would end the war and secure the release of hostages, signs on the ground suggest that only a partial agreement may be within reach for now. Meanwhile, Hamas negotiators have reportedly cut off contact, and the Israeli military is urging the government to make key decisions on the path forward. A recently released Hamas video showing frail and visibly weak Israeli captives has reignited public pressure, raising serious questions about how long hostages can endure the stalemate. To help us unpack the military, political and humanitarian dimensions of this evolving situation, we are joined by Ilan Shalom, a geopolitical analyst. Ilan, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much too.
Ilan, let's begin with strategy. Israel and the United States are pushing for a comprehensive deal, but many argue a partial agreement is more realistic in the short term. In your view, which option is more viable and urgent at this stage?
Well, I think that this is a crucial point, and I think it's essential to remember the initial objectives Israel set for this conflict. They were very clear at the beginning. First, it was to dismantle Hamas military and governance capabilities. Second, to secure the release of all hostages. And third, to ensure that Gaza could no longer be a launchpad to attack Israeli citizens. So from my perspective, the military campaign almost totally achieved these goals. The Israeli army now controls a significant portion of the Gaza Strip, almost 75 to 80%, and the Hamas military infrastructure has been severely degraded. So from a military standpoint, the pressure is huge and is likely to continue whether we see a partial or a comprehensive deal. So now I think that the real challenge is the political void. While a comprehensive agreement is the ultimate goal for long-term stability, we must not forget, and you say it, the immediate humanitarian crisis in Gaza and the fate of the remaining hostages. These are real urgent issues. So for sure, a partial agreement could be a crucial first step, and it could offer a way to de-escalate the conflict, to get more humanitarian aid into Gaza and secure the release of more hostages. But the critical missing piece right now is a credible political plan for the future governance of Gaza. Without that, any agreement, whether it is partial or comprehensive, it risks being just a temporary issue before the next cycle of violence.
Reports suggest that Hamas negotiators have cut off communication. In your opinion, what might be used to bring Hamas back to the table?
Well, that's the central question facing negotiators right now. Hamas cut off contact with mediators both in Egypt and Qatar, but their initial reason apparently was to protest against the humanitarian situation in Gaza. So the strategy to get them back to the table is in reality evolving. The US and Israel are aligned on moving away from another partial deal and instead pushing for a more comprehensive one. But this strategy is twofold. First, there is a new push to drastically increase humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip, and we hear the US President Donald Trump about that. And the second one, and this is coupled with continued military pressure from Israel, which is seen by some as the primary leverage to compel Hamas to engage in a serious long-term negotiations. So the goal right now is to present a package that addresses both humanitarian needs and the long-term political vacuum, making it more difficult for Hamas to refuse.
Ilan, the latest Hamas video shows Israeli hostages in visibly deteriorating health. Can Israel afford to wait for a full political solution, or does this humanitarian pressure necessitate a quicker resolution?
Well, the recent Hamas video showing the hostages in such a weak state has a profound impact. It's first an agonizing shock for their families, and it has intensified the pressure from Israeli public opinion on the government and a strong condemnation by the international community, especially the US, Great Britain and France. However, this has also highlighted a key dichotomy, condemning Hamas actions on one side and simultaneously pushing for political progress on the broader Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The consensus is that one does not preclude the other. A firm stance against terrorism can coexist with a commitment to a two-state solution. So this brings us to your question, can these hostages wait for a comprehensive agreement? Given their fragile conditions, I think it's a deeply concerning prospect. The long, complex negotiations required for a comprehensive deal may simply take too long. This is why many are now advocating for a blended approach, may immediate partial deals that could save lives right now, while a larger and more complicated, complex political framework is negotiated in parallel. So the urgency of their conditions, of the hostage conditions, make it clear that the time is a luxury that Israel does not have.
But the Israeli military chief has urged the government to decide on the next steps for the IDF. Do you believe Israel's leadership is losing strategic direction in Gaza?
That's a critical question, I may say. I think it's easy to look at the army chief request and think that the military has lost its way. But as geopoliticians, I think it's not the case right now. This is a sign of a fundamental problem at the very top level. Israel is a democracy, and the army takes its orders from the government. So the army chief public call, to me, signals a lack of decision-making and a serious tensions within the cabinet. So the army message is clear. We need a political plan for the day after in Gaza. They are asking for a strategy to avoid a vacuum that could allow Hamas to resurface and to ensure the military isn't left holding the bag indefinitely. So this isn't an army that is disoriented. This is a professional military leadership trying to force a politically paralyzed government to make the tough decisions necessary to end the war first and secure a lasting outcome.
Ilan, as you have also mentioned, Qatar and Egypt have played key mediating roles throughout this conflict. With talks breaking down again, how do you assess the effectiveness and limitations of these mediators in reviving dialogue between Hamas and Israel?
Well, up to now, as you know, there has been a partial agreement that has been negotiated with the help and the support from the US on one side, Qatar and Egypt on the other side. To me, they are still important actors. It's just a political question and a strategy by Hamas to say, okay, now we are cutting the tie with the negotiators. We take time because the situation on the ground is totally bad for the Hamas on the ground. They need time to think about it, to find a solution, and this is why Israel, to me, is continuing to push pressure on the ground. It doesn't change anything to the role of Egypt as a facilitator in a negotiation between Israel on one side and Hamas on the other.
In your opinion, how might the growing international criticism over the humanitarian situation in Gaza, especially from traditional allies of Israel, affect the timing and shape of any future deal?
Well, it's true that on the social network and on the media in the Western countries, we receive a lot of images coming from the Gaza Strip, and it's especially true while the area is close to the journalists. We also know that all of this information has been used in the past by the Hamas in order to push for a specific way of understanding the situation on the ground. Now, as I said before, you can have a strong condemnation of terrorism and a strong condemnation of Hamas as the fact they use images of the hostages on one side, and on the second side as well to support the creation of Palestinian state. This is exactly what tried to do Great Britain and France, and this was they're going to do in the General Assembly in the UN in September. So there are still a canal of exchange between Israel and these countries. It's tough, it's difficult time, but they are still communicating, they are still discussing about the situation on the ground.
Ilan Sialom, thank you for your sharp insights and for joining us from Paris. We truly appreciate your time and expertise. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
After the break, we'll be back with key stories shaping the region. See you then.
Ready to welcome everyone to come to Gabala and to make unforgettable memories.
Welcome to Gabala rafting.
This territory is the most important place in our history. Our ancestors lived here 2,000 years ago, and they had here amazing culture, amazing civilization.
There's something for everyone here. This place is the largest amusement park in Azerbaijan.
Our guests love to have meal in this atmosphere.
Yeah.
You know, you see you're in nature, in the forest, and the good food.
It's 6 tons, 579 liters.
And it's a lot of wine.
And biggest cask in the world.
Bandar is not just a holiday destination. It's a symbol of Azerbaijan's growing tourism potential.
The doors are open. Welcome to Gabala, Azerbaijan.
Welcome back. Now let's take a closer look at the key developments shaping our region. Ukraine is preparing to host Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan after President Zelensky delivered a personal invitation, which Erdogan appears to have accepted. Ukrainian ambassador to Turkey Nariman Jalal said in an interview with RBC Ukraine that the key topic of the visit may be the ratification of the free trade agreement between the countries. According to the ambassador, the Ukrainian side is currently actively working on organizing the visit of Turkish President to Ukraine. This visit requires significant efforts since there are many issues that hinder its implementation, Jalal said. The United Kingdom and Turkey have entered a promising new phase in their economic partnership as negotiations to modernize their free trade agreement are now underway. According to British Consul General in Istanbul and Trade Commissioner Kenan Palio, the updated agreement aims to reflect the realities of modern trade, expanding beyond goods to cover sustainability, services and innovation. With bilateral trade already surpassing £27 billion, Turkey stands among the UK's largest trading partners. Both countries are actively exploring deeper collaboration in key sectors such as clean energy, advanced manufacturing and mobility, areas with strong potential for future growth. A recent milestone in defense ties was the signing of a memorandum for Turkey to join the Eurofighter Typhoon program. Palio described this as a strategic breakthrough, with a third of the aircraft to be built in the UK, promising mutual benefits in defense, security and industrial development.
Clean energy is one of those key areas, as well as the other 7 areas that we've highlighted in that strategy, supporting really big low carbon solar projects here, for example, including the Karapinar, to those really innovative companies that are going to lead to growth. I think is going to be a key area where I'd see further opportunity development.
Armenian authorities have arrested a suspect involved in a major international fraud scheme based on the investment websites. More than 1,400 victims from various countries lost a total of over 810 million drams, around $2.16 million, after being promised high returns. The organized group behind the scam included at least 144 members, some minors, operating from late 2021 until last year. The suspect now faces charges of large-scale computer theft, with the case already sent to prosecutors for trial. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian wrapped up a 2-day visit to Pakistan, where both sides pledged to boost trade to $10 billion and strengthen border security. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif condemned Israeli strikes on Iran and reaffirmed Pakistan's support for Iran's nuclear program as long as it remained peaceful. The leaders signed 12 agreements covering energy, tourism and counter-terrorism, with plans to resume direct flights between Islamabad and Tehran after 2 decades. Pezeshkian said the visit marked a step forward, greater regional unity. Iran has approved the formation of a new defense council to strengthen its national defense against external threats. According to the Supreme National Security Council, the body will be chaired by the president and include top officials from the judiciary, parliament, military and key ministries. The council's mission is to draft national defense strategies and enhance the combat readiness of Iran's armed forces. The decision follows Article 176 of Iran's constitution, which outlines the framework for national security planning. Kazakhstan says it has taken a bold step in advancing the United Nations Global Development Agenda. The country's president and the UN Secretary General have started the first ever UN Regional Center for Sustainable Development Goals in Almaty. The new hub will serve Central Asia and Afghanistan, strengthening local action on climate, equity and economic resilience.
A major step toward advancing sustainable development in Central Asia. The United Nations has officially opened its first regional center for sustainable development goals in Almaty, Kazakhstan, a project that brings global ambitions closer to regional needs. President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev and UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres attended the launch ceremony, underscoring the centre's strategic importance. The two leaders signed a host country agreement, formalizing Kazakhstan's role as a regional hub for the UN's development agenda. Speaking in Almaty, Tokayev described the center as a concrete expression of Kazakhstan's commitment to multilateralism, sustainable growth, and regional cooperation. UN Secretary-General, in turn, praised Kazakhstan as a symbol of peace and dialogue, highlighting its leadership in disarmament.
It's a bridge builder, starting by your historic decision to abandon nuclear weapons a few decades ago. That was a remarkable example to the world. And when people talk about the clash of civilizations, the truth is that Kazakhstan has demonstrated through Kazakhstan itself, but especially through all your initiatives, that there is scope for dialogue and cooperation of people of different religions, of people of different cultures. And you have always been a center spreading this message of bringing people together.
The centre will coordinate UN support across Central Asia and Afghanistan, helping countries localise the Sustainable Development Goals and implement strategies for poverty reduction, climate resilience, and inclusive economic development.
United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has called for urgent global and regional support for Afghanistan, warning that millions continue to suffer under worsening conditions. Our correspondent Tamim Bahis has more from Kabul.
At the launch of the United Nations Regional Center for Sustainable Development Goals in Almaty, Kazakhstan, Secretary-General Antonio Guterres singled out Afghanistan as a priority for international cooperation. He thanked Kazakhstan for its growing support, saying nowhere is the cooperation more urgent than in our support to Afghanistan. Guterres described the challenges facing Afghans, including entrenched poverty, mass displacement, and repeated natural disasters. He said the people of Afghanistan deserve peace, stability, and a better future. He also reiterated the United Nations' demand for full respect for human rights, especially the rights of women and girls, calling for economic self-sufficiency and dignity across Afghan society. The new regional center, launched in partnership with local and international institutions, aims to support long-term development and cross-border cooperation. Kazakhstan, which maintains strong ties with Afghanistan, is expected to play a key role. So far, Afghanistan's authorities has not responded to the Secretary-General's remarks or to the center's launch. But international pressure is growing for more engagement and accountability. The United Nations says solidarity and shared responsibility will be vital for Afghanistan's recovery. This is Tamim Bahis in Kabul for A News.
After the break, we'll be taking a closer look at the Iranian president's high-profile visit to Pakistan and what it means for bilateral ties, regional cooperation and beyond. See you soon.
Hello, I'm Orkun Amashov. Welcome to Dialogue of Civilizations. No man is an island entire of itself. Our true connection as species go far beyond digital technology. In this exciting new series, I'll be exploring a vast and fascinating history of connections between civilizations and revealing secret bonds that have helped societies, cultures, and religions peacefully coexist.
join me and let's explore together.
Inside Politics delves deeply into the heart of global issues shaping our world today. Join me for your go-to source of political analysis from across the region and beyond.
We are ready to welcome everyone to come to Gabala and to make unforgettable memories.
Welcome to Gabala rafting.
This territory is the most important place in our history. Our ancestors lived here 2,000 years ago, and they had here amazing culture, amazing civilization.
There's something for everyone here. This place is the largest amusement park in Azerbaijan.
Our guests love to have meal in this atmosphere.
Yeah.
You know, you see you're in nature, in the forest, and the good food.
It's 6 tons, 579 liters.
And it's a lot of wine.
And biggest cask in the world.
Bandar is not just a holiday destination. It's a symbol of Azerbaijan's growing tourism potential.
The doors are open. Welcome to Gabala, Azerbaijan.
Join me, Nick Summerby, on A News. From my days playing in the Premier League to working as a broadcaster for the channels like Al Jazeera and beIN Sport. I've never been afraid to ask the tough questions to find out what's really going on behind the scenes of the world's biggest sports teams. We'll be taking you inside the latest stories, stats and dressing room secrets of the world's biggest teams.
What is power? Has leadership truly evolved, or are the old rules of geopolitics still pulling the strings behind the scenes? Who is really powerful? And what makes people feel powerless? Our new series explores the secrets, strategies, and consequences of power.
Welcome back to A News. Let's take a closer look to the Iranian president's high-profile visit to Pakistan, its strategic significance and the wide-ranging agreements signed during the trip. In a significant development for regional cooperation, Iran and Pakistan have signed 12 key agreements spanning trade, energy, security and connectivity. The deals were sealed during Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian's high-profile visit to Islamabad. To unpack the significance of the visit and what it means for regional geopolitics, I'm joined by Gaisar Nawab, chairman of Belt and Road Initiative for Sustainable Development from Islamabad, Pakistan. Mr. Nawab, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me on this important topic.
Thanks a lot. Mr. Nawab, what do these 12 cooperation agreements tell us about the current priorities in Iran-Pakistan relations? Are they mostly symbolic or do they reflect a deeper strategic alignment?
So once again, thank you. I think it's very much clear because this is the Iranian president's first visit to Pakistan, and
Yes.
it's a strong signal of Tehran's intent to re-engage diplomatically and economically with Pakistan. Pakistan and Iran both has a very strong relations in the history as well. And we do have very close linkages, not only through some diplomatic, but of course through cultural, religious, and Iran was indeed the first country to recognize Pakistan during its independence in 1947. These 12 agreements is, of course, a game-changing agreement for a country, a very good example of South-South cooperation in today's modern world. And I believe that these agreements, particularly in the field of energy, trade, agriculture, health, media cooperation, cultural exchange, and counter will not only affect the global diplomacy as well, but it will also uplift the people of countries. Both the countries' people are suffering through some of the poverty lines and so many difficulties. And we strongly advocated for the South-South cooperation and a good cooperation with the neighboring countries. And unfortunately, in the past, Pakistan since located at a very strategically location. And on one side we have in India, we don't have a very good friendly relation. On the other side we have Afghanistan, where the things are differently changing every few months or few years, and we couldn't able to more strategically align and to utilize this for the benefit of the people. I believe the agreements, which are around 10 billion agreements, are not only a symbolic agreements, so framework agreements issued, and the timelines is also issued during this signing ceremonies. And I think this is a very strong steps, and it's a clear vision, and it's a clear message of implement such kind of. I hope that will bring a prosperity among the people of both the nations.
Mr. Nawab, how meaningful is this diplomatic reset in terms of lasting stability along the Iran-Pakistan border?
Yes, this is a very important question as well. Both the countries have signed a very strong commitment towards counter-terrorism as well. We do have some issues, particularly in Balochistan, which we have found some linkages in another part, on the boundaries as well. And I think during the visit, a strong commitment has been made on both sides that we should eliminate all those elements and all those people who are against the development, and of course they are a reason of creating terror in both the Pakistan and Iran. And I think this is a very positive sign, not only towards the both countries, but of course there is a huge investment of different countries in Pakistan as well. And due to these terrorist activities, some of the investments are naturally discouraged, and new investors able to come as well, particularly when we talk about the Balochistan province of Pakistan, which is the longest border with Iran. So I believe that this is a very positive step, and this is also one of the important agreement of the whole 12 agreements.
Energy and connectivity featured prominently in the deals. Could these cooperation help unlock a broader regional integration, including with Central Asia or the Gulf?
Yes, of course, this is what the Iranian president mentioned during his speech as well, the revival of the Silk Road, which is naturally connected to China, and Pakistan is one of the closest line of China with its Belt 1 Road or Belt and Road initiative. And I think the CPEC, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, which is one of the flagship project of the Belt and Road initiative, is a multi-billion project in Pakistan, an investment of China, and through Iran, a strong commitment to further renew this Silk route will, of course, give greater opportunity of the trade along the Iran, Pakistan, and from China to the Silk Road countries.
But given U.S. sanctions on Iran and Pakistan's delicate balancing act in its foreign policy, how viable is the implementation of these agreements in the near term?
So when we see this, I think now the modern world is changing. I think from the unilateral system, it's coming towards, or you can say that the unipower system, it's more like now multipolar world. And people are believing, especially when we see after the Belt and Road initiative of China, where there are many candidates just for that. We see not much valid role of the United States or any other single. And I think during this visit, Pakistan and China, Pakistan and Iran also look for the Pakistan-Iran pipeline as well. So that was previously time ago project, and that was suffered by these U.S. sanctions. And I think this is kept balanced, and the U.S. sanctions-based paralysis system is, I think, no more workable in today's world, because two sovereign states are just thinking about their own people, bringing their people from the poverty line to above. I think it's more appreciable, and it's very much very open. And Pakistan also supports the Iran's nuclear peace program, and I think it's the right of the to utilize their sovereignty and their power to utilize nuclear program for the peaceful purposes.
Mr. Nawab, how might these agreements impact Pakistan's ties with key regional players like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates?
Pakistan is an independent country, and I think every country has their independent policies, and the friendship and the policies shouldn't be based on such kind of relationship. If we are closely, Iran is our natural neighbor. You better know that you cannot choose and you cannot change your neighbor. So I believe that Pakistan should prioritize all the relationship with their neighbors, and I think this the only it's a natural that the neighbor can come very quickly and very easily to help you when you are in need. And we have seen recently in the Pakistan-India conflict that we were backed by Iran, and we also backed Iran during the recent conflict with Israel as well. So I believe that there shouldn't be any kind of confusion to our friends' country. We do have a very good relationship with Saudi Arabia and other key players. We do respect all of the sovereign countries as well as a friends, as a partners, and we should have an open policy. I think this is what the beauty of a sovereign country, and this should be appreciated by brands, and this should be appreciated and acknowledged by all the partners of Pakistan. If they see us more development, we do have a lot of problems which we are covering up, and we did it recently, having a very good trajectory in the global community now.
And finally, to what extent could these deals serve as a counterweight to India's growing influence in the region, particularly with regard to trade routes and energy corridors?
I think it's now very much clear after the recent misunderstanding that the world was having about India, that they were thinking that this is the only substitute towards China or some other countries in the South Asia. I think it's very much clear to the world the Pakistan position is the Pakistan strength and Pakistan commitment towards the global peace and development, and of course the global agenda. I think the world is very much open towards now doing businesses within Pakistan. You have seen the tariffs agreement what Pakistan negotiated with United States. We were the only successful country probably in the world who did it very. We must should appreciate the leadership of Pakistan on that as well. And I think further we also keep balanced with China as well. We have much more balanced agreement now with China in the field of minerals and the field of defense as well. And we are also looking for, I think this is what a smart move is from the leadership of Pakistan. So Indians is already discouraged, not only because of their leadership, but because the world has known that Pakistan is a great country, a nuclear state, and with a huge youth population and resources, and with much innovation as well in the country. And it is a potential of bilateral and multilateral trades based on win-win cooperation.
Qaisar Nawab, thank you very much for talking to A News. We truly appreciate your time and expertise. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
That's all we have for now. Thank you for watching and stay tuned to A News.